on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. We're going to talk about a few topics today about the slave mind and the master-slave relationship here in the United States of America. How it's not just, black people to white people, how it is now government to citizen, citizen to government. We're going to get a little deep on this one today on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, let's get this thing started. Man, I'll tell you something. If I hear one more black person or white person or anybody make this old stupid quote from I Have a Dream speech, I want to be judged by the content of my character, not the color of my skin, I'll blow a gasket. I'm walking around here begging some racist to not judge you by the color of your skin. That proves one thing. You should be judged by whatever you think the color of your skin is, which probably means you think the color of your skin denotes inferiority. That's what you're saying, man, when you say it. You only don't want to be judged by something that you're ashamed of. So if a white man walks up to me and says, Vince, I'm going to judge you by the content of your character, not the color of your skin. I'm saying, what's wrong with the color of my skin? Wait, what? Oh, you want me to thank you? Well, thank you, boss. And these people walk up to you like this, some type of virtue signal, that they'll look at me and see that I'm black, so I'm not going to judge you by your blackness. Go ahead. Underestimate me at your peril. I want you to underestimate me. I mean, if you watch Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Yoda wanted to be underestimated. Walking slow, bent over, raggedy clothes on, people walking around him disrespecting him, Yoda getting all the information that he needs about you before he even tells you who he is. Then when he says, I'm Yoda, his reputation precedes him. But nobody expects him to be this tall and look as goofy as he looked. But after you underestimated Yoda at your peril, you can see the damage he could do to you. Jedi Master. So when Joker want to underestimate me, crazy, number one. But if he does, that'd be the biggest mistake he ever made. And I'm not going to try to talk him out of it. Matter of fact, if he underestimates me, I'll just go. Like you get on the basketball court underestimating Shaq or underestimating Jordan. Go ahead and underestimate him. You get a boxing ring and underestimate Muhammad Ali. Go ahead, underestimate him. It's like a lot of white men back in the day were getting a ring with Jack Johnson thinking he was black and underestimating Jack Johnson, just knock him out in 2-3 rounds. They said, well, we got to stop that. So now we have this little thing here in America where a bunch of white liberals and sometimes white conservatives use that phrase as a virtue signal to prove that they're good people because they accept black people as diminished and as inferior as we are. And you got stupid black folks over there saying, thank you for accepting me. Thank you for not judging me by the color of my skin. I mean, you got some so-called intelligent black people walking around right now saying that. I'll wait for them to say it to me. What's wrong with the color of my skin? And you start seeing them sweating. Oh, well, nothing. Well, go ahead and judge me by it. Well, you expect me to thank you for not judging me by the color of my skin? And boy, they start sweating bullets. I never heard a black man say that before. You know why? Because most black men are black Democrats and they sniveling cowards. Even most black Republicans and black conservatives haven't thought this thing out yet. Because you know why? It deals with the master-slave relationship. It goes with the Hegelian dialectic. Yeah, Hegel was a very interesting guy. He was a philosopher. And he wrote a lot of interesting stuff. He wrote this thing called the Phenomenology of Spirit. And in this, Hegel talked about, consciousness. And he basically said, how can you know that you are conscious unless you deal with another person that is conscious, unless you see somebody. And then you're going to look at this person, and in Hegel's mind, automatically there's a death fight that happens between you and that other conscious person. Now, this is Hegel, okay? And he said that you're going to have to, and one person is going to become dominant and one person is going to become submissive. And in that situation becomes a master-slave relationship. Somebody's going to become dominant, another person is going to be the slave. And the person who is the master is going to tell the slave what to do. And the slaves usually do what the masters tell them to do until the slaves become self-aware and understand that the master can only live based on their labor. And that's when the slave comes and takes over. It was this little movie called A Bug's Life. It really talked about it. You had bugs that were providing all the grain and all the food for the grasshoppers, who were the bullies. And the grasshoppers laid around all summer, and the ants did all the work. And then at the end of the summer, the grasshoppers would come and intimidate the ants and take their share of the food and go away with it. And so the ants the ants at the end of the movie finally found out what the grasshoppers already knew, and that was that the grasshoppers depended on them, and that the ants were more numerous than the grasshoppers, and that they could take them over whenever they wanted to. And so they defeated the grasshoppers, and all was nice. Well, see, this is what the Americans did in the American Revolution. We had a master-slave relationship going on with Great Britain, and we believed that the British Empire was greater and powerful, Then one day the Americans started saying, hey, this is a master-slave relationship, and they depend on us. We don't depend on them. They fought back. They defeated the British, got their own power, and they became self-aware. Black people in America never had that opportunity. They never became self-aware, understanding that down south, that the white master depended on their labor, the black man's labor, and that they did not depend on him. They never had an opportunity to become self-aware. Never. They never rose up against their masters and said, we're more numerous than you, we're self-aware, we're going to run stuff. Matter of fact, the slave masters understood the master-slave relationship to a point where they made sure that they kept black and white Christians separated so they could never, ever understand their power. And they still do it today. Their power comes from making sure that this dynamic is never realized. The divide and conquer technique of Napoleon, it's Hegel's dialectic in true and in living color. And it works well in the Democratic Party. Keep these people dependent on us. But it works so very well in the Democratic Party that the slaves in the Democratic Party right now is very interesting. It's a very interesting dynamic now. Because the black people who are slaves in the Democratic Party now do nothing for the Democratic Party except vote for them. But the Democrats tell them, if you don't vote for us, this is your labor. If you don't vote for us, you can't survive. The master-slave relationship between blacks and the Democratic Party will change when black people understand that the Democratic Party depends on them, on black people, and that they can make the Democratic Party do what black people want them to do and what poor people want them to do, and not the other way around. When black people understand that they want school choice, Democratic Party give it. Instead, the Democratic Party says, no, we give you free education. Be thankful. Instead, black folks say, no, we give you the vote and we want school choice. That's when you become self-aware. That's when the dynamic changes. Democratic Party says, we give you food. No, we give you the vote. We want jobs. We give you Medicaid, we give you Medicare, so we can't let illegals come in. No, we give you the vote, so we want our streets safe. We want these illegals off. We want our constitutional rights adhered to. And this is something else we got to deal with. Duties versus rights versus freedom. A duty is given to you by God. You have a duty to be fruitful and multiply. You have a duty to obey God. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not... All of that, the Ten Commandments, these are your duties. To love your neighbor as yourself. To love God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength. These are all duties. And then you have rights. What are rights? Rights are these things that you have, but you have no duty to do. So I have freedom of speech, but I have a duty to do it. I have a freedom of religion, I have a duty to practice it. Now listen, we have to understand this. We get our duties and our rights and our freedoms confused. And then we have freedoms. Our freedoms are given from God. They're irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. They're ours. But most of the time when you have your rights, other people are involved in them. Like when you talk about gay rights, right? Okay, to have a gay right, you got to have other people involved. Civil rights, other people involved. Have a right to vote, other people involved in that right. Other people are involved in that. And that's when you start getting into the situation where the other person's rights, are their rights being violated. So I have a right, as a gay person would say, I have a right to go use a woman's bathroom. Well, the question becomes, doesn't that woman have a right to use the bathroom in public without a man looking at her? That's why the gay rights thing is ridiculous. It doesn't exist. Other people have to be involved in your right to make it a right. So when people say I have a right to vote, okay, you do. Now you got to get the registrars and you got to get the ballot boxes and you got to get people involved in that right. It's not a freedom, it's a right. So you have LGBTQ say that I have a right to work on this job here. Okay, if that right does exist, other people have to say, okay, we're going to allow you to have a job. We're going to hire you. We're going to give you a desk to sit at. So other people have to be involved to make sure that this right comes about. But when there's a freedom, nobody has to be involved with your freedom. I have a freedom of religion. Between me and God. You don't have no right to deal with that. You have no right to bother me. I have a right to speak. You have no right to bother me. I have a right to walk around in my house naked. It's not bothering you. That is all right. So I digress, but we have to understand the difference between our duties, our rights, and our freedoms. And then we go back into this. The very fact that there's a master-slave relationship in America between the Democratic Party and especially the black community. And it's always been that way. They have been the party of slavery from 1800 to 1860, the party of Confederacy from 1860 to 1865. The party of Jim Crow from 1865 to 1965. Now they're the party of transgenderism, party of aborting babies up to the 9th month, party of terrible schools, party of illegal immigration and hatred and misogyny. They've always found a way to take whatever constituency they had and enslave them. And tell them that if you do not give me your labor, which is your vote, we will take away the sustenance that keeps you alive. And the people then become trapped in this brutal master-slave relationship. My job here is to make you self-aware of it. Let you understand that you have the ability to turn the Democratic Party to your will. And I hope that your will is not to get free stuff, to be on a plantation. And some of you are. Some of you are. Some of you, your main goal in life is to, as I said before, get a one-bedroom apartment, have enough food to eat, sit on the porch and drink 40s, and do it for the rest of your life. And that is not living. That is existing. Merely existing. And Jesus said that a tree that doesn't bear fruit shall be hewn down. It is your duty to produce. It is your duty. It is your freedom to go out and produce and do it well. But it is your right to sit down and say, I'll sit down in my crap and I'll die. That is your right. But you do not have a right to make me pay for it. You do not have a right to make me pay for it. And that's where we have our problem. We are free. Our freedom is an unalienable right given us by God. It is irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. We're trying to keep from having a master-slave relationship with our government. We have to control the nomenclature again where we say that our government is our leader. It's not. We lead the government. We lead it. It doesn't lead us. If it leads us, we become the slave. We've started calling the people up in Washington, D.C. and the people in the halls of government our leaders. They're not our leaders. Well, they're not my leader. They might be yours. But once you give them that moniker, you've also become their slave. People, we can't have that. The great George Washington said something. It's quite interesting. We win the battle to save America. And George Washington said, the time is near at hand, which must determine whether Americans are to be free men or slaves. And I know what a lot of y'all are going to say. Well, George Washington owned slaves. George Washington's slaves should have said the same thing. The time has come for us to determine whether they're going to be free men or slaves. And just like George Washington made the decision about his life, it's time for you to make the decision about yours. It's time for you to understand the master-slave relationship. It's for you to understand the concepts of duty, freedom, and rights. Your duty versus your freedom versus your rights. Your duties come from God. And sometimes they are to your husband, to your family. But again, those are biblical duties. You can read them. They'll tell you all about them. Your rights, you got to have somebody else usually included when it comes down to your rights. Somebody else has to come and, my civil rights, my constitutional rights, LGBTQ rights, human rights. And then you have your freedoms. And nobody's involved in your freedoms. You decide your freedoms. You decide on your own. And if you have to allow somebody else to be involved for your freedom, it's not freedom. If somebody else has to be included for you to exercise your freedom, it is not a freedom. Freedom is a personal thing. It's yours. My freedom of religion, my freedom of speech, my freedom to assemble, my freedom to pursue happiness, my freedom to be free. Nobody's be involved in your freedom when you decide you're going to be free. That's between you, yourself. I'm free. When somebody else comes to try to make you free, you must be willing to use force. Your freedom is always dictated by force. If you cannot exercise force to maintain your freedom, you're not free. This is why the Second Amendment is so important. What did Abraham Lincoln say? When your so-called masters come and try to take your freedom, you must teach them that you are free by using the sword and the bayonet. You must teach them that you are free. So this concept of the master-slave relationship, you need to be conscious of it. You need to be conscious when your government tries to apply it to you. You need to be conscious when other people try to apply it to you. That when you meet another conscious individual, there's a tug of war that's going to go on in your brain, whether or not you're going to be a slave or whether you're going to be dominant in the relationship or whether you just walk past and leave him alone. Your government is the same way. So when you're going from a politician and you fawn in front of them and you bow and you scrape, he's told you that he's dominant and you're the slave. But when you walk up to him and you hold him accountable for his votes, how he's acting, what he's doing, and when he raises his voice, you say, hold it, wait for a minute, man. You work for me. Get back in your place. Instead, too many of us are going to them asking them for favors as opposed to being free and telling them, you better get back. You're violating my freedom. As the American people told King George, I'm not going to allow it now. But then some of us have chosen to be slaves. Matter of fact, they enjoy it. Matter of fact, as soon as they break away or the one master kick them out, they go find another one. They want the security of the slave. They want it. They love being able to go to government and get everything they want. But freedom, oh, it takes a man to be free. It takes a strong woman to be free. And many people can't bear it. So you've heard me say the Democratic Party is a party of masters looking for slaves and slaves looking for masters. The master-slave relationship in the Hegelian dialectic is alive and well. These people play chess while you play checkers. They know exactly what they're doing. That's why they can't get me. I see them coming 1,000 miles away. I know every game they try to play. So when they walk up to me and say, Vince, I'm not going to judge you by the color of your skin, I said, stop it right there, man. What's wrong with the color of my skin? Oh, and that stops them right in their tracks. And lets them know right away that I know the game that they're playing. And it puts them back on their heels. So I ask them again, you hear me? What's wrong with the color of my skin? Then nothing. Then judge me by it. Carry on with what you want to say. I don't let them get to the point. I'm going to judge that country of your character. Man, I don't want to hear that, man. So you think I'm going to sit here and do a Holy Ghost dance because you overlooked my blackness? And all you so-called enlightened black people out there that keep screaming at this stupid quote, you better not ever say it in my face, because I'm going to get you straight also. Or quote coming from an anti-Christian jackleg preacher from a communist. Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. had a communist write this quote for him just to keep us in the trick bag of the Hegelian dialectic of being a master and a slave relationship with the Democratic Party. It's a chess game being played with a bunch of rubes that don't even know how to set the board. So I do this podcast to try to educate you a bit. Now I want you to share, I want you to comment, and I want you to like this content. Because sometimes or another we'll get into the philosophical and the theological and we'll get into a little fun stuff, but this is for real. And every man out there, every man that calls yourself a man, you better cut this mess out. Walking around, turning in your man card, volunteering to be a slave, and they're going to try to strut in front of me and act like you hard. I know you. Put a DEI stamp on your chest and come in my world. You need DEI because you're inferior. Because if you weren't inferior, you slap it away. I don't want your crumbs. I'm taking the whole table. So accept it and come in my world. Accept this foolishness of dreaming about a day that you won't be judged by the color of your skin, then come in my world. See how far you get. Bunch of crybabies, slave-minded, inferior-minded. And that's why today we remain at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America, because you know what? Most conservative white men are not concerned about how you feel about them whatsoever. If you don't like them, that's your problem. And that's how I am. If you don't like me, that's your problem. Put your hands on me, you're going to have another one. That's why I roam in the country of real men, black and white. That if you say something like that in our presence, we're going to look at you like, say, you don't belong in this circle, young man. You go somewhere else with the crybabies in the parks, okay? I'm not asking for you to like me, but you're going to damn sure respect me. And if not, I'll teach you to. On that, stay strong. Stay vigilant. Come to Tampa. We're going to be having a good time down there. God bless you all. Because Vince Ellison is here to wake you up. And I hope I did you some good today. So join me again for another edition of the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, friends, Vince Everett Ellison is here. I want you to go to my website. And on my website, you're going to see a lot of great stuff, man. You're going to see that we got T-shirts, we got caps. You got my books, my documentaries. You got all kinds of stuff on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Go there. We're dropping new T-shirts. We're dropping new merchandise. My new book, The End of Tolerance, is there. The End of Tolerance. Make sure you get it. Make it #1. If you got my first 3, get The End of Tolerance. It's just as good. And it's telling us we have to end our tolerance with these leftists, these Democrats. We no longer allow them to sexually groom our children. We can no longer allow them to castrate little boys and call them little girls, run God out of the public square, take away our guns, take away our sovereignty. No longer allow it. So go on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. That is VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Hit merchandise. You'll see the T-shirts. You'll see the caps. You'll see the books. You'll see the documentaries. You'll see it all. And let's keep this ball rolling. God bless you.